This is Let's Talk Radical Radio, getting to the root causes of the important issues of the day. This on-the-air community forum believes your voice matters and welcomes all thoughts and views without judgment. Please join today's conversation about the elections by calling 415-663-8492, or you can tweet us at Let's Talk on KWMR.
Your hosts today are Robin Carpenter, Paul Raffel leading the conversation, and me, I'm Mary Frank, answering the phones.
Oh, you're not?
Oh, no, you answer. You can answer the phone.
That would be me. I am answering the phones today. Uh-oh. And
We've been invaded.
I love it.
So, you will hear a funny noise when I press the button to put you in the system. Just hang on, and we'll get to you as soon as we can. You'll hear it ring. I'll say you're on the air. That means you're coming up on the air. Please give us your first name. Turn down your radio. And please, especially on this show, watch your language, because I know a lot of you are kind of upset or very happy right now, and that's who we want to hear from. 415-663-8492.
And today we're talking about the elections and asking about your feelings, what it meant for you, both locally, statewide, and nationally. And as Paul said, please watch your language. There are 7 deadly words, and 2 of them are words that you might commonly use that you wouldn't think about. So anything, a common word that comes after the word bull is not allowed.
Not allowed.
And another word that starts with a P and ends with an S
when
is not allowed.
Off, yes.
Yeah, so remember, you're ticked off or things are bullpucky. So please watch your language, because I know I don't think I've heard as much cussing as I have in a long time. So call us at 415-663-8492. And when I thought that we should have this as our topic last week, I had a suspicion that things might surprise us, and of course, having to rouse ourselves and get up here and do this, it's been a very interesting 2 days. And as many of you know, I have friends and family around the country that are Republicans. And, and I have a lot of people I know in my life right here that keep it secret, because we really are, I believe, in a liberal enclave bubble. And I think we are. And as a state, I just wanted to read this quickly. The California State President Pro Tem, oops, let my computer come back on. Uh-oh. Let's see here.
Talk among yourselves for a minute.
Here we go. So they released, and the California Assembly Speaker released the following statement on the results of the election and said, "Today we woke up feeling like strangers in a foreign land because yesterday Americans expressed their views on a pluralistic and democratic society that are clearly inconsistent with the values of the people of California. We have never been more proud to be Californians. By a margin in the millions, Californians overwhelmingly rejected politics fueled by resentment, bigotry, and misogyny. The largest state of the union and the strongest driver of our nation's economy has shown its surest conscience as well. California is and always must be a refuge of justice and opportunity for people of all walks, talks, ages, and aspirations, regardless of how you look, where you live, what language you speak, or who you love. California has long set an example for other states to follow, and California will defend its people and our progress. We are not going to allow one election to reverse generations of progress at the height of our historic diversity, scientific advancement, economic output, and sense of global responsibility. We will be reaching out to federal, state, and local officials to evaluate how a Trump presidency will potentially impact federal funding of ongoing state programs, job-creating investments reliant on foreign trade, and federal enforcement of laws affecting the rights of people living in our state. We will maximize the time during the presidential transition to defend our accomplishments using every tool at our disposal. While Donald Trump may have won the presidency, he has not changed our values. America is greater than any one man or party. We will not be dragged back into the past. We will lead the resistance to any effort that would shred our social fabric or our Constitution. California was not a part of this nation when its history began, but we are clearly now the keeper of its future. So that's a pretty powerful statement and a little hint of possible secession.
Well, millions of Californians.
Oh, Charles Schultz.
Charles, you're on the air.
I'm staying down here in Point Reyes, so I didn't have a phone, so I had to invade. And let me say, Damen und Herren for Westmoreland, Heil Trump. Let me be the first to say Heil Trump. Millions of Californians did vote for Trump, and this is a coastal bubble that we live in.
In fact, let's see, Hillary Clinton. Well, yeah. So Hillary got 5.5 million votes, and Trump got about 3 million. In the state. That's only 8 million votes.
Well, all the votes in California haven't been counted yet. We have a huge mail-in ballot.
Right.
Sure. And who voted for Trump in California? The people who have not benefited over the last 40 years in the way that we have in places like Marin County. So
this is all northern California.
But Kern County, Tulare County.
The foothills, yeah.
So the Democratic Party has ignored these people, has contempt for these people, ran Hillary, even though all the evidence showed that Bernie would be better. Actually, almost anybody would have been better than her as a candidate, that she would lose to anybody. And they ran her anyway. And I think that, one commenter said the old Democratic formula of Wall Street plus identity politics is dead. And I, for one, look forward to that. Martin Luther King asked to be evaluated on the content of his character, not the color of his skin or the accident of his birth, if he had been a man or a woman. And the identity politics machine within the Democratic Party wasn't prepared to do that. They wanted a boomer white woman. They got one, and it was a disaster.
Well, the Republican Party was out of touch, too. I mean, you can't call Trump a typical Republican. I mean, both parties ignored the working class in this whole country and how much they have suffered and are suffering and how out of touch all the pundits, all the media, and both parties are completely out of touch with the amount of suffering. I can't say it any other way. And that's how something like this could rise.
Well, it was...
And no, just...
dear.
No, it's just like, if you look at Bernie, I'm going to quote right here, a 74-year-old Jew from Vermont, not even a Democrat most of his life, a self-professed Democratic socialist, gets 22 states in the Democratic primary, something like 47% of the vote. Almost all the young people who voted for him. And this certainly signifies something. And it was ignored for business as usual. And the result, it's almost like instant karma, what happened in this election. It's like you do that, you push aside the truth, and guess what? You're open to anything.
Well, one of the things that, to me, is we have to look at Trump through a populist lens. Trump is not a Republican. He's not a Democrat. He's not a conservative. And it was clear when you had a year and a half ago Bernie drawing crowds, and the tens of thousands everywhere he went, that it was going to be a populist candidate that was going to win because a populist movement had come up from people that had been so alienated from Washington for so long. And the young people who didn't find anything to even want to participate in the process were awakened, and everybody knew. And the one thing that both Trump and Bernie kept saying, it's rigged. It's rigged. It's rigged. And everyone, even the staunchest Hillary supporter, in your gut, it is rigged.
I know that your vote and my vote in the primary were not counted.
Yes, my vote was not. It was received at the county, and they think that why it wasn't counted was my signature didn't match up. And you know who went down there to try to kick out votes for signatures not matching up?
The Democratic Party.
The Democratic Party.
Yeah.
Well, Main Street Moms, I was told, tried to prevent the Bernie afloat, which I was a part of, which mostly was just me sitting in Ann Miller's truck driving through Point Reyes Station, and unsuccessfully getting a "Drunks for Bernie" chant going at the Western. Main Street Mom, I was told, I don't know if this is true, but it was alleged that they tried to prevent the Bernie people from getting to march in the parade because they had to line up behind Hillary because, in some sense, this was the realization of the corruption of American feminism, in which ruthless careerism and emulating the worst kinds of men in our society is considered feminism. And that's what Hillary has done her whole life, or at least the last 4 decades of it, as she was a student of Saul Alinsky's at one point.
She had a wonderful career as a young woman and was in Washington, in D.C., was going to be a politician, and failed the bar exam in D.C. and went back to Where is he from?
Arkansas.
Arkansas, that's right.
A state she did not carry, incidentally.
Right.
I would just say, because I've got to go, and I've invaded with my white male privilege in full in full efflorescence, and I'd like to say I look forward to this Trump tyranny. It'd be good for me. No, I'm kidding. Is that what we need to do is think about the things that we can affect and set aside the things that we can't affect. So there's a lot of anger. I think a lot of it irrational, a lot of it very unfair, talking about how racists and misogynists won this election for Trump. I'm not saying those aren't problems in the United States, but rather than casting aspersions at people whose lives we don't know in states like Louisiana and right through the middle of the country from coast to coast.
Basically, the Louisiana Purchase elected Trump.
Yeah.
It was
And
those states.
Well, back in 2008, they talked about these aren't red states or blue states, they're purple states. This county went for the Republican and that county went for the Democrat. Not true any longer. Those states had maybe one or two, if any, counties returning for Clinton. So there are no more purple states, frankly. I mean, if you have a purple state, it'd be California, where the interior and the very poor people vote for Trump, and the coast and the very rich people vote for Hillary. But we have to focus on what we can control, and that is our local politics, our local Democratic Party, and getting the kinds of changes there to happen, because the Democratic Party has shown itself to be run by a corrupt elite that is so out of touch, they don't even know how to win anymore.
Or possibly
Or predict.
Okay, we need to really in earnest legitimize having more than two parties. I mean, the two parties have completely shut down the ability to have viable other parties, and I think that we need to change that
If
corruption
not, yeah.
as well.
If
we
not
need
now, when is it going to happen? Because both parties have shown themselves
exactly
to be.
Right.
One
There are no-
one thing that was really interesting was that of all the counties in America that have a Cracker Barrel, 76% of those counties voted for Donald Trump.
Sorry,
and of
would
all
you explain what a Cracker Barrel
so,
is?
you guys don't know what a Cracker Barrel
I
is?
do.
Is that like an envelope full of deplorables?
No,
it's a
No,
barrel
it's-
full of
It's a
crackers.
restaurant.
It's a restaurant that serves grits and fried chicken and collard greens and stuff like that.
It's like a Bob
So-
Evans. You know Bob Evans, right?
So all the counties in America that have a Cracker Barrel went Trump. 76% went Trump, and of all the counties in America that have a Whole Foods, only 20% voted for Trump.
Well, and let's talk.
So maybe we just need to get more Whole Foods in counties.
Well, let's talk about that. I mean, Detroit now has a Whole Foods. The black voter turnout was down so considerably from 2012 and, of course, from 2008 that those votes could have taken Michigan for Hillary. And I'm sure you see similar situations in Pennsylvania and Wisconsin where where Trump outperformed Mitt Romney among Latinos.
30% of the Latino vote went to Trump.
And the black vote stayed home. Why did it stay home? Well, because their lives have gotten worse over the last 8 years. You've got cops running around killing them, and you've got the violence in their communities that is self-generated, you might say, and so their lives got worse. Now, symbolically, Obama made us all feel good, especially places in coastal California where we like symbols of American blackness. We don't actually want to live near any of those people, but we liked the symbol. And the symbol was meaningful. It did say that this country has come a long way in terms of its attitude towards race. It's not that it was unimportant. But Obama, frankly, didn't do anything for the poor. And he didn't do anything for black people.
He really
or the working people. But there's another number that's interesting. It isn't just the black vote. 10 million Democrats, registered Democrats, did not show up for this election. 10 million. There's the difference.
Another
right there.
interesting number, of course, is 415-663-8492.
8492.
Call in. Let us know how you're feeling, how you're handling it. And if you're rejoicing, let us know why and what you see for the future of the country. And the future of the state, the country,
Hello, my darling Lions.
Yes, we just said it.
415-663-8492 is the number that Lions is pointing to. I
Somebody.
Oh, and it worked.
It was magic.
Enough with the hysteria, though. I see these people running around crying. That's ridiculous. That's the attitude of like a toddler that's been poked.
Well, there's another issue here, which is that this has given permission for a type of bullyism, a type of misogyny. I mean, how do you explain that to your kids? We're trying to teach our kids to... know what I mean? This is cryable to me. No,
not
to
for
me.
adults.
No, well, I'm an adult.
Well,
And-
what I'm saying is those people...
Well, let's hear what our caller has to say.
I see.
Because
Yes.
we're a call-in show.
That's right. Caller, you are on the air. What's your name, please?
This is Andy.
Hi, Andy.
Hi,
Hey, Andy.
You know, I was just about to comment on what, I was going to basically talk about what Mary was just now bringing up about not about the misogyny, but about the voters. I mean, to me, it's there's two things that come out of this that are really important for us all to think about. One is that 50% of the people, basically the vote was split, or, between Trump and Clinton, even though she got slightly more of the popular vote. They basically had the same thing. So half the people that voted, felt, are the people that were left out that voted for Trump, and many of them were energized to come vote for the first time, perhaps in a long time.
Right.
But the other, to me, very interesting statistic is that we've got 231 million eligible voters in this country, and 100 million of them didn't come out to vote. To me, that having an effective democracy means you have to have everybody. I mean, either they, to follow the conventional thinking, were not voting and therefore giving their vote to the winner. And so maybe they were 50-50 split for Trump, or maybe they were complacent and thought Hillary Clinton would win, or maybe they're just disgusted by the whole thing and don't feel or feel totally disenfranchised, and neither party spoke to them strongly enough to get them to go out and vote. I kind of like the idea of, I think it's Australia that requires people to vote.
And Brazil has compulsory voting for all literate citizens between 18 and 70. I think it's interesting they don't let illiterate citizens vote, or don't encourage them to vote. I guess I don't know. It's interesting.
I'm all in favor of illiterate citizens voting. But we have to, as a country, we've gone through this painful process. At least half the people aren't happy with it. Very many people are extremely unhappy with it. But, we kind of have to pull our shorts up and get back to the business of being a country. And so we need to get together with the people that we don't really understand. And we all collectively need to go talk to the people that didn't vote and say, find a way to include them and to motivate them, because that is really the crux of how things have to work.
I think that with the money in politics, people are so disgusted. They feel, that there is that feeling of disenfranchisement, because what voice? So many people feel, what is my voice if the money is buying the votes? And, of course, that's true.
I think you have to participate in a local level. There's no chance that the federal government is going to meaningfully address all of the major crises that are coming our way. The defense industry and the fuel industry is going to be right there lobbying Donald Trump, as they would have been with Hillary Clinton. And I did not want a President Trump, did not think it was going to happen. But in terms of our effectiveness, we can march till our feet fall off. You are not going to make the emperor cry. You are not going to melt their heart. If we're going to change these things, we have to do it on a local level, and we can. But that is a level of engagement in politics that does not exist in our culture. So all these people crying about Hillary, they just wanted to go back to sleep. They're upset that they got woken up. And they just thought, well, I can ignore politics for another 4 years because the right party won and the wrong party lost.
You can't ignore it anymore.
No, but I think it did wake a lot of people up. This could be...
Andy, what do you think?
I hope.
We can, we can criticize people and,
Name call.
But that doesn't
Yes.
It doesn't help.
accomplish anything. I completely agree with Charles that people have to be involved locally. Number one. Number two, I'm not sure which is one or which is two. And we all have to go out and vote, because when you don't vote, you abandon your voice.
Give us a call, Bernie.
Because, Bernie Steffen, one of our former hosts, posted on our Let's Talk site, that he deeply believes that we should all boycott voting, that don't even participate in the process because it's such a corrupt process. And he believes that not voting is his way of rebelling. I don't know that I agree, but it's a point of view.
Well, that's like, I'll take my marbles and go home.
Well, the problem is it became so degraded because the intelligent people did not stop participating under the conditions of the Cold War, and this is too much to get into now, sadly. So they just left politics and left it to the dumbest people in the country, on the Democratic side and the Republican side, people who are just morons. And sorry, Andy, you have to call some names here. And so when I hear people say, "Oh, we have to leave the country,"
You have to call it. You never have to call a name.
oh,
Come
on.
I understand the impulse to do that. Believe me,
And it's the one thing that
my
we've
breath
criticized
very
Trump
often.
for.
Well, Hillary Clinton tried a McCarthyite tactic to try and paint Donald Trump as pro-Russian. Apparently, she wants to go back to the 50s too. Some feminist her, So I found that absurd. Of course, the media didn't report on all of this. The fiction of objectivity is exposed by all of this. The media hated Trump. The establishment hated Trump, and they used the media that they own to tell everybody that they should hate
and they
Trump.
hated Bernie. Same thing happened with her.
And the more the establishment pushes against these kinds of figures, the more it is confirmed in the minds of average people that the anti-establishment candidate is correct. The more they attack Trump, the more they strengthen his hand, because nobody trusts, frankly, and nor should they trust, the New York Times or the Washington Post. They're not doing journalism anymore. They're, a liberal elite, whatever.
They're in the bubble too. They're in the
Yeah,
bubble.
sure.
I mean, they got everything so darn wrong because they didn't want to listen, or nobody was going out into these rural communities and reporting. There's a woman who just published a book.
She's going to be on my show next Friday.
Awesome.
There you
I
go.
was reading some of her stuff yesterday, and she went out in Wisconsin, in rural Wisconsin, to 27 different little villages.
Oh, this is Louisiana. Sorry, different book.
Okay. And so there's several people, and then there's J.D. Vance's book, Hillbilly Elegy, but no one was taking the time to even go check in with these people. So
This is called Fat Cats in the Polis Who Don't Know Diddly Squat about life in the streets.
Name call. Don't name
Diddly
call.
Squat. I was going to say
Sorry.
something much stronger, and that came to mind.
I think name calling
No, but
is okay.
there's so
Andy,
it's
let's
like
let Andy
so.
wrap
Oh,
up.
sorry.
Yeah.
Andy?
Yes.
Would you like to get a word in?
Come on, get confident, stupid.
Well, there's a one of the things that this really reminded me of. I was reading some articles this morning about this, but remember that Ronald Reagan had a slogan in his campaign called "Let's Make America Great Again," and those were the days when we were talking about the silent majority. Right? This is the same people that came out and voted for Donald Trump. And, they're just less silent now,
There's someone that's speaking for them, they feel.
Michael Moore put
the
it.
idea of going back to the 50s and that was some sort of special time, it just doesn't resonate with me.
I don't think they want to go back. Do you? I think
No,
they just
Robert
want
Reich
better.
does.
They want hope. They want opportunity. They want to feel like they're part of the process. And most of all, nobody likes unfairness. And this was said over and over that it's rigged. It's all rigged, and
So
that
my
makes
last-
people
my last
crazy.
thought- let me key you off of the rigged statement. My last thought is, well, yeah, it is rigged, and the reason it's rigged, I'll quote, I can't remember his name, but whoever it was who was the candidate of the Libertarian Party in about 1976 or so, made a statement about you don't want somebody to be president who wants to be president.
Oh, no, Gore Vidal said anybody who would put
Well,
themselves
okay,
forward as
whatever.
president should immediately be disqualified from so doing.
The thing is that people that go into politics are self-selecting, right?
Sure.
We have, 230 million people here. If 90% of us were active at some level, we would have an entirely different governing body. People don't want to do it because for whatever reason.
Well, that's the interesting question.
People that we have may not be the stupidest people, but they're certainly the people that are attracted to
The power and the attention.
Ruthless careerists and not particularly talented individuals.
Because there's not really a lot of money in it if you're actually just living off your paycheck. The money comes from. Now, one of the things that I found really interesting in Trump's first 100 days is he wants to put a 5-year ban on anybody leaving the Congress or the Senate. That for 5 years they cannot work as a lobbyist. And he wants to put a lifetime ban on anyone who's worked in the White House or been on the cabinet.
Well, Obama made similar noises about curtailing lobbyists.
But I'm just saying that we'll see if he can do it. But some of the things that he's saying are some of the same things Bernie said. So there's some things in there. He doesn't want the TPP, and the Republicans want it, and the Dems want it, and
he doesn't want the no-fly zone in Syria, which Hillary wanted, which could have caused a massive
war with Russia.
So
there's
Hillary.
some things that I think we should also look at, that if he can do them, there are some things that he may be doing that a lot of us will like.
Maybe. I think you look at the cabinet that he selects. If John Bolton becomes Secretary of State, which I heard this morning, that is a nightmare scenario.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there is probably plenty of bad news to come to Trump. But I would say one thing about a Trump presidency, Andy actually gets the last word. Think about that, Andy.
Say one thing about it. I think we need to keep open minds.
Yeah.
And listen more. We all need to listen more.
And take action as warranted.
With that, I didn't get the last word.
quick, hang up now. So,
last word. I have to go. I have a meeting. It's been a pleasure.
Okay. Thank you, Andy.
Thank you.
Thanks, Andy.
I just, yes, there's possibly good things coming with Trump, but I think the best thing coming from Trump is that I do feel that it's woken people up out of a slumber. I think the women have been galvanized. Here you have a guy who is now president who said, yeah, I can grab women by the P word. Are you kidding me?
Say that
well,
one.
you know who legitimized that?
The guy that says I can grab women by the pussy is now president.
Well, no, I'm sorry. He was from 1992 to 2000, if you remember. The person who legitimized that attitude towards women from a president was Bill Clinton.
Yeah.
And, of course,
Yes.
she stood by her man. Good Hillary.
And helped intimidate
Well,
some of the women.
Totally. Outrageous. I'd say from 2000 to 2008, we were worried about illegal wars. We were worried about torture. We were worried about surveillance from the government. We were worried about all of these things that when Obama was president, everybody on the coast just forgot about. Those weren't crimes anymore. Our guy is in the White House. It's a good thing. Everything's happy. Now, maybe one positive, unintended consequence of a Trump presidency is that people remember that we have become the country of imperial war, torture,
racism,
climate change, promoting nuclear power throughout the world. Maybe we'll remember these things.
Well,
now.
Charles,
putting down women, then you can't diminish that, because I think this is going to make a huge difference in terms of people getting involved locally. At least this is what I've seen.
You know what?
This is what I've seen.
I would have said
415-663-8492.
Save us
Call
from
in
ourselves.
to keep us from
Yeah,
yammering
let
on.
us hear from you.
I thought my niece Lauren had a really fascinating thing that she said, and it was basically she said, oh my God, misogyny, oh my God, white males, running amok, oh my God. She goes, America's been the white male misogynist raper pillager of the world.
Yeah, but now everybody knows
wait. And she goes, oh, and so now you're going to complain? Now it's been this way. We just haven't named it.
Well, of course,
but you see, people weren't as conscious of it as they are now. Robin.
I think when we have Democrats in, we won't look at it. We're bombing 9 countries. We are the bad guys in the world. Obama has not helped us in a lot of ways.
Well, Obama did just prove one thing, which is that the color of your skin or your genitalia does not mean that you have good character, integrity, principles, that you're moral or ethical in any way. And so if we can get over that problem and start looking at what are people actually proposing, are they people with character and integrity, that will be a huge improvement rather than, that one looks like me, I'm going to vote for that one.
Well, I think Obama wasn't as so much evil as he was totally naive. He thought, let me make my point.
He's a neoliberal.
That he felt that he could actually work with these people. I think that's a factor as well.
No, but when he had control
he had control for 2 years.
Yeah, and did nothing. So now I've got to leave because you have to call 415-663-8492. And let me plug it. Arlie Russell Hochschild in her book "Strangers in Their Own Land: Mourning and Anger on the American Right" is her book. It's at Point Reyes Books, and she will be on the local Organon 1 p.m. Friday the 18th, next Friday, and that was about Louisiana. You should get that book, Robin.
Oh yeah.
Okay, and this is KWMR Community Radio for West Marin, 90.5 in Point Reyes Station, 89.9 in Bolinas, and 92.3 in the San Geronimo Valley, and streaming live on KWMR.org.
And programming on KWMR is brought to you by the Bolinas Community Center in the heart of Bolinas, providing a place to celebrate life and community through music, events, community nights, and classes. Information about joining, volunteering, donating, and events is available at 415-868-2128 or online at bocenter.org. That's B-O-Center, C-E-N-T-E-R.org. And also, the Coastal Health Alliance is one of our underwriters as well. Thank you, Coastal Health Alliance, offering comprehensive family medicine and dental services, and the only podiatrist in West Marin. With health centers in Point Reyes and Bolinas, Coastal Health welcomes patients with Medicare, Medi-Cal, private insurance, including Kaiser, and no insurance. Appointments and general information at 415-663-8666 or coastalhealth.net.
Okay, and today we're asking you to call us and let us know how you feel about the election. Please do call us, and when you do call in and you hear Paul say you're on the air, give us your name, your first name, turn down your radio, and please watch your language.
Yes, please. Keep it clean, folks.
Yes. Don't talk like Donald Trump.
So, speaking of local elections, let's see. Hillary. Kamala Harris, U.S. Senator now.
The first Indian and black. I think her mother was from India and her father is Jamaican.
Uh-huh.
And so we had
Jared Huffman, House of Representatives, was brought back in. Mark Levine has retained his seat in the State Assembly. Sheila Lichtblau got Superior Court Judge Office 2.
That was kind of upsetting. I was really hoping Mike Cofino, because he's been a public defender, and we don't have anybody representing that on our
that would have been a
judge
change.
seats.
Yeah.
It would have been nice.
Joint Petaluma District.
So the big one, though, here is our supervisor.
Yes, supervisor. Here
So
we
that
are.
was very...
Supervisor Dennis
it's gonna be
Rodoni
Dennis
got
Rodoni.
on this day. I think I printed this on the 9th. Yeah, so yesterday. 6,389 for Dennis and 5,670 for Dominic. So
It was a very close race.
it was a close race, of course.
It was,
And they're both likable people, and
they are
both talented and capable and
There is concern, though, in
intelligent.
the ag community. I will just speak to that because, and I must say, Dennis is a wonderful person, and he's always been a great supporter of marine literacy, and so I only have good things to say about him. Although, because of my work as supporting local food sheds and being an activist around agriculture, I really had wanted Dominic to win because he is, a fourth-generation rancher here. He really knows our agricultural scene, and we're facing a really tough road right now with the park and ranching in the park. And, I think most of us who support the ranches staying really wanted Dominic, and there was concern because Dennis had supported getting rid of the oyster farm.
But he has said he'll support
the
agriculture.
park. But
No agriculture.
But he's also endorsed by the Sierra Club, which has been very anti-agriculture, even good agriculture. And think about where we would be if the big greens like the Sierra Club made a push for organic agriculture in all of America. What if that's one of the biggest polluters?
They would say, this is not our purview.
And, one of the ways to keep our land and air and water clean would be to push for organic
At the
agriculture.
Coastal Commission meeting last week, there was a lawyer, an attorney for the Sierra Club. Who, yes, anyway.
They want us to all be thin.
Let's see, Prop 51. All the propositions that passed. Let's see, Proposition 51, what was that? I guess
I thought the two most important ones were, should porn stars wear condoms, and can we legalize recreational marijuana? So
Right, well, the marijuana passed, right?
yeah.
And the condoms didn't.
And the condoms didn't.
I can't understand that.
Okay, so
Why
the
wouldn't you
argument
want, what is the argument?
The argument for that is that they'll just take the porn movie making somewhere else, and at least here in California, it's very heavily regulated about frequent testing and monthly HIV testing and STD testing. So there are already a lot of regulations on the porn industry in California. So if they decide to go, okay, we're going to go to Nevada, we lose the income and they would be going somewhere with even less regulation on their health.
Yeah,
So-
there were two sides to that one. Ammunition, you have to show more stuff. You have to get a background check to buy ammo now?
But on the ammo thing, there was a clause in there where military and police, former police, whatever, were exempted. They didn't have. So the police and former military can have all the ammo they want. We can't.
Because they're trained in
Trained in
firearms.
killing. So
Repeal of the death penalty did not pass.
I was very disappointed about that. I thought we
Yeah.
were more liberal than that.
Well, as the counties,
Yeah.
Ban on single-use plastic bags that passed, and as did the one that was put forward by the plastic bag industry failed. So
That's good.
Good.
So
We're still killing people,
It's a
but we
start.
don't use plastic bags. Yay!
Yeah. So that
I can't believe
It's a-
no one wants to call in. Come on, you guys have got to be
we
more
won't
upset than
say
this.
anything nasty.
We'll be nice no matter
Be
what.
nice.
Yeah, call us at 415-663-8492 or tweet us at Let's Talk on KWMR. We'd love to hear from you.
Let's see. Stop right-wing millionaire from blocking infrastructure projects. 53. Yeah, that went down. Okay.
61, did that pass?
61
that was
did
the
not pass, no.
Oh, that's so sad. Bernie was begging us all to pass 61 and let California set the example for stopping the pharmaceutical companies. I know Andy and all the Blue Shield buddies were hoping that
was
would
the
pass.
one in which the state had to buy at no more than the VA buys their
Yeah,
drugs, right?
and because the VA, the veterans were against it, a lot of people thought they should vote against it, was what I heard. But the veterans were against it because the pharmaceutical companies threatened the vets that they would raise their prices. If the state could only buy at VA prices, then the pharmaceuticals said, "Okay, VA, then we're going to raise your prices."
So, interesting. 61. I've got that it did pass yesterday, but this morning I heard it hadn't passed. So.
Well, we'll see what happens.
There you go.
I mean, it's really interesting since Andy works at Blue Shield. A lot is up in the air for them because they're heavily invested in Cover California and the Obamacare coverage for the state of California. And if that goes away, it would be a huge blow to the progress that they've made.
Right.
But I believe Colorado is doing this. I think we should, as a state, and we should start looking at it right now, and hopefully Jerry Brown is looking at it, look at how we can create our own California care. We've already got one of the
Right.
best systems in place, Cover California. Of all the Obamacare nightmares, we really kicked off well. It worked well. It's working well in California.
Yeah.
So if we could come up, and there are a lot of people I know, one of the things that they're really upset, there are a lot of people in town who have a family member with cancer or who have some other condition where they could completely lose coverage. And, so that's one of the real legitimate fears that I feel a lot of people must be feeling, that if this is not dismantled correctly or that this could really be destabilizing for so many people.
And, give us a call, 415-663-8492. Let us know how you're feeling and what you're seeing for the future of California, of West Marin, and for the nation and for the world under the new presidency. Who knows? As we've all pointed out, that it's a great catalyst for people to actually get involved in politics again, which is
Well, yeah, I think
at
there's
least
so
to
much.
keep an eye on things.
And,
There is so much cynicism, but this is a big jolt. I think I said I'm hoping that this is the Shakti energy that will get people to move. And from the women, especially, that I have been in contact with since the election, there seems to be a lot of participation where there was none. So I'm hoping
Yeah.
that will increase.
Well, there are people in the streets, which is, they won't do anything, but it's great to see. Extend the tax on the wealthy to fund education and healthcare. Prop 55 passed by a 2-to-1 margin,
that's
basically.
great.
72-hour publication of bills prior to vote, which has two sides to it, of course. That passed. It sounds great that they have to publish any bill that's coming up in the California Senate online. 72 hours before there's a vote on it. But what happens in politics in America, maybe this is why it's a good thing to do this. You come in at the last minute and you're making offers and you're making compromises and right before you go to the vote. And so there was a lot of opposition to that, but not enough.
So it passed.
It passed, yes. Overturn Citizens United, whatever that means. You know, California saying, why? We don't want it. Yeah, that passed, of course. Repeal the death penalty. Really? No.
That didn't pass.
Didn't pass. Marin County Measure A, which is a 0.25% sales tax to over the next 9 or 10 years, I think, to provide $12 million for access to preschool health care, after-school learning programs in literacy and math, affordable childcare for underserved kids.
Did that pass?
That passed.
Great.
Yeah.
Oh,
What else? Legalization of marijuana, blah, 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 blah. Speed up the death penalty. I don't think that passed. Yeah.
you know, I wanted to, this is kind of an ancillary point, but I think it's one we haven't made and that we should make, and it's from Michael Moore. He talks about the Electoral College. The only reason that Trump's president is because of an arcane, insane 18th century idea that called the Electoral College. Until we change that, we'll continue to have a president we didn't elect and didn't want. You live in a country where a majority of its citizens have said that they believe there's climate change. They believe women should be paid the same as men. They want a debt-free college education. They don't want us invading countries. They want a raise in the minimum wage, and they want a single-payer, true universal health care system. None of that has changed. We live in a country where the majority agree with this liberal position. We just lack the liberal leadership to make that happen, and I think that's a very good point.
Yeah, well,
You know, the
I've never
Electoral
understood
College.
the Electoral College. It's to even out the states,
It was
right?
to even it out because
doesn't
that
make
means
sense anymore.
Well, why doesn't it? It was to mean that the state of Maryland would not have any impact, hardly at all, you know, compared to the state of California. So you would have the most heavily populated states control, which let's just say the most heavily populated states tended to be conservative. Would we want to get rid of the Electoral College?
Yeah.
Yeah,
You know?
I would, because
You
I
still
still
would?
think, one vote, one voice, whoever, the majority wins. That is democracy.
Yeah, the Electoral College. It seems a weird way to go about things.
It was a
and-
way, especially to take care of, at that point in time, we were a great agrarian nation.
Yeah, but
and
what-
most people lived on farms. And so if you don't have the Electoral College, the elections will always be weighted towards cities and urban areas. And so...
But that's where most people are. And if
But-
you're going to elect
but
leaders
that-
that represent most people, it has to be the popular vote, period.
I disagree that you have to think about the fact of how do you weigh things out, because then people who choose to farm or to ranch or to live in a rural lifestyle, they become invisible.
No, not
There are
necessarily.
not enough of them.
They sure didn't come invisible in this election.
But the Electoral
did, though.
College,
Yeah,
if
the
there
Electoral
if there was no Electoral College, they would once again be
That's why
unheard.
New Hampshire and Iowa and all the rural states are so important, because they have these number of delegates. I don't know.
And the
how-
delegates are based on on how many House of Representatives delegates that they have. So the number of delegates, I believe, are your
based
number
on
of senates.
population.
And so it is based on population in terms of how many representatives you have and your two senators. So if you've got, 300 representatives or whatever, you would have 300 Electoral College votes. But I don't think anybody has that many. I think California has 55. But so it's supposedly based on that.
So it is based on population.
And
it is
but they
based
can
on
change.
population.
Those votes can change. You don't necessarily have to go with what you said you were going to do.
Well, that in 29 states you do,
Yeah,
but in
but
the
that's
other
29.
states you don't. You can be what they call a faithless elector.
Yeah.
Ooh.
And so you can vote for someone else. It's very rarely happened, but you can do
Yeah,
that. It has
happens.
happened.
I
still-
remember we were holding out for that somewhere.
Well, I'm still seeing things on Facebook of friends of mine posting like, let's, beg the Electoral College to give the presidency to Clinton.
415-663-8492. We've got about, 12 minutes or so. Come on, give us a call. How are you feeling? You can vent if you like. Just
think
keep
they-
it clean.
You know what?
You can cry. You can cry if you like. It's
I
all
think
right.
it was Claire Peasley that yesterday they had, I don't know how many people showed up. Claire and some other people organized people to meet in the Giacomini wetlands to do a circle and just be together. And, I think it was, you could sing or whatever there was. I think it was going to be silence or singing.
Filling the
No
wetlands
talking.
with their tears.
Filling, yes.
Yeah, well, that's nice. That's I don't know.
I'm
It's
surprised-
A way of letting it out, I guess.
I want to go back to what you said, Robin. You honestly feel that the Electoral College is more fair? Is that right? Is that
I
what you're saying?
think that to go straight to if you just go straight to popular vote, there is a risk that pretty much then everything's going to be won in the larger urban areas. And so you will not have the diversity of voice coming in. I mean, there's a reason they did it. That was the reason they did it, so that it would even things out.
But
so
who's to say that those voices are less important than the majority?
you are saying they're less important.
No, but they're more important. Who's saying that?
They're not more
why
important.
isn't the majority
They're-
more important?
They're trying to give them equal weight. They're trying to, if you happen to live in a rural area, then your vote is not going to be as impactful as an urban area. So
Right, we're being governed by urban politicians anyway.
what's the difference, really?
Well, there's a huge difference, and that's what these
Give me an
people voted
example.
for.
Give me an example of in terms of policy where that's been
Because in
effective.
urban areas tend to be more liberal. There tends to be more public and social help going on. It's living here versus living in Manhattan or even in San Francisco is very, very different. And people tend to be a little more conservative in rural areas. They tend to be more liberal in urban areas. So there is a difference between those areas. You have less money in rural areas, less income. Actually, usually less education in rural areas. So it's very different.
There's plenty of impoverished people in Detroit and New York and in California. I mean,
but people living in a city is a very different lifestyle.
it's a
than
different
people
lifestyle.
living, yeah.
But if you're serving the people, aren't you obliged to serve?
But we
them?
haven't served the
But
rural people.
We're not serving anybody right now.
Yeah.
We're serving big money. But I mean, I just cannot get my arms around the fact that. The majority shouldn't rule. I believe the majority should rule. And let's just agree to disagree.
Yeah.
415.
I'm not saying that I'm not up for it
663.
going away, but I'm saying
8492.
there was a reason. There was a reason for it.
Yeah, but
Subliminal
it's so
telephone.
arcane. I mean, my God.
But I don't know that is arcane. When
I
you
believe it is.
see that popular vote will always have the cities determining who's in office nationally.
But that's what's
then-
happening right now anyway.
No, the rural areas in America won this election. It was the first time, and they said they can't even figure when rural areas like this won an election. This Donald Trump won from the rural vote. That's how he won.
No, he run from the heartland vote, which isn't necessarily
No, those are all rural areas. That was what was so much why they had that statistic
There's
up about the
plenty of
Cracker
cities
Barrels.
in the heartland, Robin.
If you look at most cities, like you look at Alabama around Birmingham, that all went blue. You look in Louisiana, New Orleans is blue. You look in any of those places in the heartland, and the cities were blue. The rural areas were what won the day for Trump. So
But now, and that was when the majority of people did not live in cities. Now, if the majority does live in cities, does
Thank
it
you.
make sense?
Thank
to
you. That was done
give
because
the majority
exactly.
I guess I'm
voice?
just saying that was the reasoning was that, and especially living in rural areas, there are very different needs in those areas.
Yes, of course.
Of course,
And
but that's
so-
true wherever you go. You
But
know.
then they can elect their senators and their, as everyone can, their representatives and senators.
The cities do
Same
that.
as we do.
In San Francisco, you're not going to get. You haven't seen a Republican anything in California in years. You're not going to see a Republican senator because the
We had a
cities rule.
Republican governor not so long ago.
Yeah, but that was a backlash vote, I think. I
Well,
don't know.
we had it,
yeah.
but I mean, the point is, if those were the Electoral College came in because most people were farming when those votes came in, and that's not the case now. So that's why I'm hanging for the popular vote.
Call in, won't you? 415.
Let's hear what you think. Get me out of this.
8492.
Help!
So yes, there was a lot of wailing and gnashing of teeth among certain corners of West Marin. Others are celebrating, and why not? Who knows? As you were saying earlier, the participation, even though 80 million or 100 million people registered voters did not vote, that's not counting the unregistered people in the country.
So really only 25% of registered voters, only a quarter of registered voters, well, a quarter for each side.
So that was a vote all by itself, right? Yeah. I mean, well, who cares, right? Maybe it'll get shaken up.
Yeah.
Or it's the status quo.
Well, I think, the DNC normally the year right before during the primaries, they're doing voter drives, and they did not because they knew if they got new voters, they would be Bernie supporters.
We have a caller.
Hi, caller. You're on the air. What's your name, please?
My name is Nancy.
Hi, Nancy.
Hi, Nancy.
Hi. In 2004, New York Times published a county-by-county, precinct-by-precinct red-blue map. Uh-huh. And every single city went for went for Gore in 2004, and only the rural areas went for G.W. Bush. So that was another election. Some people say that the Electoral College is overly weighted now toward rural areas, such that in that election I thought was a good example. So anyway.
There you go. That's when I first realized what the Electoral...
Even Atlanta went for Gore. All the cities went for Gore, literally, every single one.
Right.
Reno went for Gore. So anyway, just wanted to make the point.
Well,
That's
thank
good.
you.
Thank you, Nancy.
Okay.
Thanks, Nancy.
Okay.
Oh, here's another good point that Michael Moore makes. I'd like to bring up, and he says, because everybody's kind of in shock and awe, or many people are. Many people are celebrating, but addressing the shock and awe people, he says everyone must stop saying they are stunned and shocked. What you mean to say is that you were in a bubble and weren't paying attention to your fellow Americans and their despair. Mm-hmm. Years of being neglected by both parties, the anger and the need for revenge against the system only grew. Along came a TV star they liked, whose plan was to destroy both parties and tell them all, you're fired. Trump's victory is no surprise. He was never a joke. Treating him as one only strengthened him. Mm-hmm. He is both a creature and a creation of the media, and the media will never own that. Good point.
You know what's really interesting to me is when I saw immediately on Facebook people going, it's everybody who voted for Johnson. So you people who wouldn't get behind Hillary and voted for Gary Johnson. And I was thinking, first of all, Gary Johnson voters are primarily Republicans that just couldn't stomach voting for Trump. And then it's the third party once again cost Hillary the election. And, and it's because we're so misogynistic as a country. And I have to say, I do not believe that people voted Trump because they didn't want a woman president. I truly don't think people care. I don't think people care if there's a woman president.
Really?
I think that's naive.
You really think so?
Yeah.
Oh, my God. I think plenty of men said they were going to vote for her, got in the booth and said, I don't want a woman president. I think there are plenty of those people.
Well, we don't know that.
We don't know.
But
I mean, if you just look at the lay of the land in terms of same wages, in terms of who is really represented, how many women are in positions where they have a voice?
What if it had been Elizabeth Warren, do you think?
I think she would have won because she would be a populist. Mm-hmm. I think it could have been Barney the dinosaur if he was a populist. Hillary didn't stand a chance because she represented the establishment, and the mood of the country was tear the bastards down.
And people don't trust her or like her. That's a big factor. She's not likable. The best speech she gave was her concession speech. All the time she's spoken during the campaign, nothing was inspirational to me whatsoever except her concession speech, which was actually the first time I ever heard her speak from the heart. And I like that.
Well, it's interesting. I felt really bad for there were so many of my young women friends who were always excited about Hillary. They were not Bernie supporters that became Hillary supporters. they were, and I have a large number of friends here in West Marin that they always were excited about Hillary and excited, and it meant a lot to them about a woman being in office. And I saw so many of the young women I know like posting their pictures. They're wearing a white pantsuit, white for suffragettes, and a pantsuit for Hillary, and they really, really thought she was going to win. And I know that has to break their hearts because she was a real symbol to them.
Yeah, she won the popular vote.
You know, so yeah, I mean, we do have to remember that you know, it's not like the world turned upside down. There's a division, and there are pretty much equal numbers on both sides.
Half and half of the people who voted, which is not everybody. And so we have about, 2 minutes left. Give us a call. Let us know how you're feeling. Just give us a sense of how the world is going to change, or will it be business as usual? Will it all remain the same? Ha!
Well, it'll be really interesting to see how the parties pick themselves up because both parties got their fannies handed to them, you know, and Trump isn't going to kowtow to Republicans. And the Democrats, I don't think who's even leading the Democratic Party now. I mean, Donna Brazile has been disgraced. Debbie Wasserman Schultz is hated. You know, Hillary,
I
that's
hope Elizabeth.
over.
I hope it's Elizabeth.
You know, who's gonna really lead us out of this, or do we really get serious about forming a third party that can go somewhere? You know, and
here's the thing about the third party:
Populist
it's got to
party.
start right now. It's got to start right now.
Now.
You can't wait till the election because that's always what has happened before, and that's always why it never works. But really, we do have a third party, and they're in office right now.
We have a fourth party.
We have a third party in office because you can't really call this a Republican Party. You know, this is
that's true.
Well, now,
in a way.
wait, now the people who are going to be in charge, the Republicans won the Senate, or kept the Senate, kept the Congress,
But there's many.
and he is going to put die-hard right-wing Republicans on his team, on his side. So it is Republicanism, the new
but
right
it's not your
Republicanism.
it's not traditional because the traditional Republican Party will resist a lot of his policies.
Because they're not going to go for getting rid of TPP. They love TPP. So if he really sticks to his guns on some of the things he promised his people, and you know, Trump is very driven by being liked by his people and the masses. So he's going to be swayed by the masses more than he's going to be swayed, I think, by the Republican Party.
I don't know.
Okay,
I think
well,
it's so personal. Maybe it's all going to be the people he's actually sharing the room with rather
we're
than
going
the
to see.
people.
It's going to be very
Anyway.
interesting.
Yes, so where are we? Who am I today?
You're Paul at the very end. Well, I'll take it. It's like KWMR does not take a stand on any of the issues discussed on Let's Talk. Opinions expressed in the program are those of the hosts and callers and don't necessarily reflect the views of KWMR, its board of directors, underwriters, or members. And next week, we're going to be talking about a much calmer subject. We're going to be talking about food as medicine. Not just the gourmet stuff, but the stuff that really heals.
Excellent. So, yes, this has been Let's Talk with hosts Mary Frank, Robin Carpenter, and I'm Paul Raphael.